Hi guys, how did it ever get so crazy? My four kids are actually going to be voting this year. I don't even know how to talk to them about politics anymore, so I'm going to call this physical politics or political physics. I don't know, trying to make sense of it all. This is how I see it. Here's a seesaw, nice and centered. Most of us live either here or here, right? Ideally, maybe here. How is it that these little tiny inconsequential crazies that are all the way off the edges there, how can they cause so much damage? So how does the seesaw work? Basically, I have this, I'm going to call this M1. M stands for mass, sort of like weight. M2 is the other blob. M1 is a much bigger blob, right? But the distances are not the same. So this is D1, distance 1, and this is the other distance. So what this picture shows us is you can have something that's quite large, that's close to the center, be balanced out by something that's quite small, that's very far from the center. In other words, you can have something that's quite consequential, important, meaty, of some substance that's close to the center, and this little green guy, instead of rising to the challenge and being as consequential and putting some effort into it, just went crazy, just sort of went farther and farther off the side. And believe it or not, that extra distance compensates for the lack of substance. So this is it sort of mathematically, M1 times D1. This is going to have the same force here on the seesaw as this little guy that's farther out. These are my cats. This is Mish Mish and this is Sim Sim, and I gave them nicknames just because I thought that would be funny, so I hope you can laugh at that. Now, this actually is not referring to Biden and Trump. This is really looking at our political parties. So one's a Republican Party, one's a Democratic Party, and I don't really care which one you decide is which. I wasn't thinking right or left, to be honest with you, but regardless, they start off the same. They need to work together. They need to keep this silly little seesaw functioning. It can't touch the ground, or they can't bonk it on the ground and just be like destroying it. They can't break it, and they have to keep it moving a little bit up and down. We have to have some discourse, right? So that's their job. And they can either become, have these brilliant ideas and kind of like shift the seesaw in their favor one way or the other. But instead, we have this situation where I'm going to name them Uncle and Sam. Hi, Uncle. Hi, Sam. And Uncle makes the first move and moves in one direction, shifts the weight in such a way that the seesaw bonks on that side. And of course, Sam's like, ha, you can't do that, and shifts it on his side. And Uncle's like, you're not the boss of me. I can take you down, and brings everything down. And Sam goes, well, I have a place to go as well. And next thing you know, they're at an impasse where they are completely at the same level. And to make it worse, the seesaw's bending under their weight now because they're all the way at the tips there, and it breaks. So I don't really care about either of them at this point. We're in here and this like craziness that's happening in our country. So is there not a better way to do it? How about we say, this is a bright idea and this is a weighty argument, and Sam has a bright idea which shifts everything in his favor. This adds some weight to him. But then Uncle has a weighty argument and a bright idea, and things shift the other way, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. And now it's getting really exciting. Lots of brilliant ideas and weighty arguments. And so we have this big blob tornado thingy of brilliant ideas and weighty arguments that we can all get our teeth into and figure out the pros and cons and have civil discussions and figure out how to get our country continuing to be the most amazing place on the surface of the planet. And yeah, it will be on one side or the other, But we all kind of live in this space, honestly. We have to stop, reacting to the little guys out here. Right? We can't do that. We have to be able to counteract them by being very substantial here. This is the only way we're going to win. How do we get back to this? How do we get back to having a decent conversation and not losing our friends over this nonsense? Okay. Thanks for listening. Things to think about.